Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries. Today I wanted to do a 6-month flip of this chunky beast, which is my A5 Sterling Ink Common Planner. It is the planner that I tried to put almost everything in at this point. And yeah, I just wanted to go from cover to the end of June, basically, to show how I've used it, and then maybe talk a little bit about what I might be changing since I've started a one book July challenge. Anyways, I did take the book out of the cover just so I could showcase how chunky it is and also make it a little bit easier to hold on to as I flip around because it's getting really big. This cover is by Sojourner. Rowena produced this leather combination this year, 2024. I don't remember which month, but it's called the Desert Oasis. I do not believe it is available anymore. And then I just have a moon charm that I got from Michael's, and then one of the freebie cards that go out with some of my orders from my shop. Anyways, without further ado, let me just open up the front cover here. I haven't made any changes to the way I decorated this initially. When I first set it up, I really wanted to do kind of like a map drawing on this page that would correlate to the map, or what I would hope to be like the map here. I even put down like continued map drawing or washi tape, and I have left this sticky here in hopes that maybe one day I will be motivated enough to draw a map kind of design. But for now, it is still the same way I originally set it up. For the year at a glance pages here, I did appointments, my period or menstruation, date nights, and vacation days as my kind of dots to track, and I left the key up here at the top. And then on the left, I covered up what was a blank page with a full page dashboard sticker that I created using Canva and images from Pinterest. None of these images are mine, but it just kind of helps me be motivated when I look at this, like of my goals for this year, which kind of correlates to like the goals section also in here. But between those two, there's 2 blank pages in this planner, and I decided that my first blank page was going to be an index of all of the back pages, which are just like blank notebook, and then the other page I wanted to be my adulting log. I've been really consistent with updating my adulting log this year, which I'm really proud of myself, because previous years I don't always do the best at documenting when I actually am doing things. So I'm really happy with the progress I've made this year with this adulting log. Still 6 months to go, but I'm excited to see kind of how things have been correlating. So for instance, like my flea treatment for my pets, my dogs and my cats, has been a little bit off, but kind of close to the same few days each month, which is good. But my haircut, or let me see what haircut is. I'm supposed to get my haircut every 2 months. I cut it myself, and in June I decided to do a pretty big chop, so I cut like 6 inches off my hair. And now I'm interested to see how that's going to change date-wise for the rest of the year. But anyways, that's what these pages are. For the goal spread, I actually did set this up as goals pages. In my original setup video of this book, I walked through, I think, the whole process of how I wrote things down, talked it through. It was a very long section of that video, if I remember, and I definitely love the layout of this, and will probably continue to use a goal breakdown similar to this in future planners if I don't, if Sterling Ink either takes this out of the common planner, or if I don't have this available in whatever planner I'm using. I will likely make a spread similar to this because this has been incredibly helpful for me this year. For the quarterly pages in this book, I have made lots of different changes. So for the first quarter, I decided to, so the left page has been pretty much the same throughout the year so far, but the right page has been different. So for the left page, I have a section where I'm doing my intentions for the month, basically a brief paragraph of what do I want to achieve this month for myself, utilizing this planner, whether it be goals relating to, my health, wealth, mental, spiritual, relationship, or inspiration. So anything I'm pulling from here on a quarterly section, I would try to pull here, and then also here in a more monthly fashion. And then at the end of the month, I come back in with a review and basically write another paragraph did I meet the original paragraph's intentions? Why or why not? And then for the review at the top, similar things, you know, did I reach all of my quarterly tasks or not? Anyways, for the other side of the page here, I have changed this up like I mentioned each quarter. So for the first quarter at the top, I used the little section as a stats by month, basically a place for me to keep track of my monthly stats that I find very interesting about myself. For instance, the number of pages I have read, how many workouts I did that month, how many miles I ran, and how many times I ate out at restaurants or fast food. And then for the, I guess, more indexy, calendex type section, the first quarter, I did this as an hourly time kind of tracker in a way. So I used 4 different mild liners and highlighted the different amounts of time that I was spending sleeping, exercising, working, or having fun. And fun could have just been like anything else that didn't include work, exercise, or sleep. And this was nice for like the first month and I think part of February. And then I just got really irritated with doing this and decided I no longer want to spend my time trying to recall how many hours I spent on things or being so, I guess, nitpicky about how I was spending my time, because it was taking up more time tracking it than it was worth to me. So I stopped doing this at the end of this quarter. At the bottom here, I have a section where I've used my icon stickers, either from my shop or from other shops that I've collected, and just to denote different memories that I found really, I guess, bold for that month. So like the top 3 memories, if you will, for each month, just to have it in like a little picture snapshot form. And this is still really fun for me to look back on and see, wow, okay, so I read 5 books in January, started the year off great. I got to visit my mom. We got Chicks and Ducks. I got to see the Dune movie #2 with Zendaya and 𝗬𝗙𝗻𝘁𝗄𝗏 Chalamet. Like, I just like seeing it in a little picture form like that. It's kind of fun. For the second quarter, however, this is where things again changed. So instead of doing the only intentions and review on this side, I ended up taking these stats from up here and smushing it on this side as well. So I still had room for my paragraph of like my intentions for the month and my paragraph for the review for the month, but I still wanted to include those stats because I find them to be very interesting and fun for me to kind of look back on. For the right side of the page, though, this is the beginning of the split column. I have done this again in quarter 3, but I split the column in half. So half of it was like a habit tracker where I was tracking when I was going to the gym, if I was doing a walk or any kind of other like yoga or exercise like that, if I had gone on a run, if I ate vegetarian, and if I practiced my meditation practice. And then I changed the color by month just to correlate with the Pentel sign pen that I was using, which are these ones. And I like how this looks. I like how I can denote what month is what based on the color I picked specifically. It's like a form of color coding in a way. The only thing is I felt that the second half of this column where I was marking down like specific holidays or birthdays or events wasn't really that useful for me. And I felt like this was already in my monthly pages and I didn't need to have it here twice. So for quarter 3, I changed that again. But for the bottom section here, again, it's the same top memories using the icon stickers, and I really quite like that. I'll briefly touch on the quarter 3 setup just because I'm here. So I did set this up in a separate video of how I'm using this book as a book for the One Book July Challenge, but I split the column in half. I've done weather tracking on one side and then that habit tracking on the other side. And I like how this is working out so far. So I may continue this for the rest of the year, honestly, because this is doing really well for me. Next is the monthly section of this book. So my monthlies have been a struggle for me pretty much the entire time I've ever used a planner. I've never really felt comfortable in my monthlies, at least on a planning perspective. So usually I just write down, you know, birthdays, holidays, any kind of astrological information, and then have like a monthly to-do list on the side and a section for monthly highlights just to make it easier as a snapshot of, you know, what went on that month. And I think after doing that for the first quarter of the year and keeping the monthly spreads really plain, I decided to try something new. So in April is when I decided to put down more of a synopsis of the day. So instead of just having the holidays and birthdays and events and things like that, I added in a little brief synopsis of what went on that day. So when I look at the monthly spread, I don't just have my appointments and, important dates. I can also see what I did for the month literally on the monthly page, just in a very short form version of it. I also in April added in a tracker down here to mark when I was practicing my language practice and then also my reading. And while I liked having this here, I think I didn't want to continue it because of space, and then also because I was already tracking this information somewhere else. So I don't know if I don't know if I'll put trackers in the monthly pages again. It just didn't really work out for me for this month. Then in May, I added something new again. So April is when I started training for a 10K race that I have in July, middle July. And then in May, I started writing down the miles that was part of my running plan, in addition to everything else on the page that I was doing in April, minus the tracker on the bottom. And I think I found that this was just too much information on 2 pages for me. I think I got a little overwhelmed seeing everything together like this. So in June, I stopped. I didn't put the miles back in, but I kept everything else from April minus the tracker. And I think this is where my happy medium is, where I'm still having my to-do list and my highlights and any kind of important holidays or birthdays, and then also that little brief synopsis of the day. I think this is like my happy place when it comes to using the monthly spread in a way that I find works really well for me, that I'm not wasting paper, that I'm still filling up the space, because that's something that I struggle with, is having blank pages. I'm working on it, I am. But having a spread like this really does work for me. And then for July, I'm continuing that, but I'm adding in one more thing, a couple more things. So the One Book July Challenge, which again, I talked about in a separate video, for the monthlies, I'm adding in a space for my gratitude, and then also my sleep, mood, and stress tracker, which I've pulled from my health planner, and then my weight by week, which I've also pulled from my health planner. So adding a little bit more information to the monthly pages to see how I feel. I really do think the trackers in the monthly pages is not something I'm going to continue and like having in a separate space. So I've already kind of learned that after like almost a week into July, that I think I prefer this information to be definitely separate. Then in the weekly pages, my style has changed so many times using this planner. So in the beginning of the year, I continued on with how I had done weekly spreads for years, where I was tracking it hourly with icon stickers and keeping in like a small tracker at the bottom, having a weekly task list, and using just big deco stickers or PET tape clippings or whatever. And I did this for a very, very long time. This had worked for me for a while. I was not having any problems with it, but I think I got to a point, and I think it was in April or May throughout the year, that this was just too much for me in a way. Like I knew my schedule, I knew what I needed to work on. It wasn't necessarily a way to memory plan or memory keep or anything like that. So I didn't need to have an hour by hour breakdown of my day. And so I stopped. And actually this looks like, so it was in March that I stopped the hourly version of planning for me and switched into a dashboard layout that I was inspired after watching, I think it was Just Be with 𝗬𝘗 or 𝗬𝘗. I apologize if I mispronounce her name. I did make a whole video on changing things up in my planner weekly sections. But the dashboard really, really worked for me. And with this, I separated my time up here for events, workouts. I had a garden space, currently reading space, main tasks for the week, habits, meals, a section for packages and happy moments and rating my week, and everything that I was able to kind of track in a more hourly section wasn't necessary, but I still had the same information I needed here, and also combined other books that I'm using here as well. So I guess after changing this to a dashboard style layout, I realized I could fit so much more on a weekly spread than I originally had been doing for years. So planning shift, if you will, or planning transformation. I did end up tweaking this a little bit more over the weeks. So I moved my habit tracker here, tasks over here, cleaning, like it did change slightly by week depending on what I had going on. And I really think that worked very well for me. And I was even able to use sticker kits. So this is the Garden Time sticker kit for my shop in the A5. It fits the 𝗬𝗃𝗁𝗍 cousin as well. And I was able to still use kits in addition to like the normal deco stickers and icon stickers. And I really like that because, you know, we all have a stash of kits that we still try to use even if we don't have the same size planners anymore. But yeah, I really liked being able to use the dashboard style layout, and I felt like my planning was better. Like I was able to get more accomplished and see more of what I needed to get done. Then there were weeks that I just didn't plan at all, or I either didn't have time or whatever, in which case I went back in with, again, PET clippings. These are from London Gifties. Pretty much any of the big stickers like that are going to be from London Gifties. I'm obsessed with her PET tapes. But on these weeks that I wasn't planning or using the dashboard or hourly layout or anything like that, I would go back in and do kind of a journal synopsis of what happened this week, maybe as an explanation why there's no plans, why I didn't utilize this space, or just because I needed to have more space for journaling than I did want to use in the back. But I didn't do that as often this year as I did last year. I feel like last year I had a lot of space towards the end of the year, especially where I was doing more journal pages like that versus planning. But I did go back into the dashboard style layout for a few weeks, and then I think I tried to go back to the more hourly style layout at some point too, just because I wanted to test it out. Yeah, so here's where I went back to that more hourly style, and I think I made it this week, and then I went back to dashboard. No, okay, so 2 weeks. Yeah, so I made it 2 weeks back into the more hourly style that I was craving, just to kind of break down my day a little bit more. And then I think I realized this isn't helping me. It's taking more time than I want. Yeah, and then this week, I think I was just over it, and I barely did anything here because I wanted to use the big spaces that I had like actual appointments, and then I never went back in and filled in anything else. I just kind of winged it this week is my guess. And then I had one more week of the hourly style layout using the Coffee Monsters Co. icon stickers, which are fantastic. I love her little stickers now. And then I used her subscription washi tapes, which I think is my favorite subscription she's done yet, the nautical one. It's just so cute. So cute. But yeah, and then, okay, so then we went back into the more journal style. So in the weeklies, I have switched so many different times back and forth of how I wanted to use it. And I think I have settled on the dashboard style layout, at least for the current months and possibly future months. But I think after playing around with it for long enough, I decided that the dashboard style was really what was helping me achieve more throughout my day and get more done throughout my week as well. And then in the notes pages, I have several things back here. So because the Common Planner is basically blank grid paper in the back, I set up some logs in the beginning pages, and I'm hoping to set up some logs at the end of the book as well, if I have enough pages left. But the first pages, I definitely wanted to have these in here because it's important to me in a way. So this is a date night log, basically where I write down the date that I go on the date, and then a brief description of what we did. And then I also have a reading log, which correlated with my reading goals for the year. So my goal this year was to read 25 books total, and I think this page holds like 23. I don't feel like counting all of these, but I used my star rating stickers from my shop and then a different colored pen for each month, so I could see how many books I was reading each month of the year, thinking that this would just be all on one page. Well, surprise for myself, I apparently just awakened my reading habits in January after reading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. Reading those 5 books just sparked my fantasy brain again, I guess, and I wanted to read everything in the planet after that. Like, I don't know, there's something about that book series that just called to me in a way. And I ended up reading it because of the hype. And after reading it, I've already almost finished her Throne of Glass series, and I already had her other series on my to be read list. So anyways, I like seeing that I've read so many different books, and I like being able to see it in different color families. Again, kind of like that color coordinating by month. So January's gold, February's pink, March was green, April was this kind of purple color, and then May was this highlighter orange. So being able to see that, like, January I read a lot, April I read a lot, and then I ended up making a second reading tracker where I read even more in May and June. So I'm really happy to have a space like this in the back, where in other planners I don't think I've been able to do something like this because there either wasn't enough notes pages or I didn't feel like covering up the other pages that were there. So definitely a winning spread for me in the Common Planner for this year, because I definitely am happy with my progress, not only with my goals, but also with my reading habits, because they have definitely increased this year. For the rest of the pages, though, I've set them up as like a dashboard for the monthly header page, and then a daily page, one per day, where I ranged from tracking astrology, affirmations, prayers, tasks, journal entries, fun little snippets of what went on in the day. This has just been really nice to format my days as I need them. Whereas in other planners, I have felt very restricted to the 1 page per day, because that's already dated that way. Like, it's formatted to do 1 page per day. However, I will say I made it 6 months, maybe 5 months in the year, and I got very irritated with dating my own daily pages. So I don't know what this means for me in future planners, if I'm willing to kind of date my own pages again and just do it for the whole year, or if I would rather like have a pre-dated daily section. I still haven't settled on what I feel like, but I do know that I definitely got annoyed with having to pre-date pages in advance. Or predate pages as I went, I guess, because usually I would plan out my day the day before, and then I'd have to set up the page, and I think it just got very tedious over time, and I just stopped enjoying it. But I will say, I do like that there's not empty pages. I do like that there's the ability for me to skip days if I needed to skip days. I do like that there's the ability for me to use half a page if I need to use half a page, or if I needed to use more than 1 page, I could do that as well. I also like that there's abilities for me to have full pages dedicated to other things. So like, this wasn't even a daily spread. I just wanted to swatch inks that I got from Birmingham Pen Company, and because there's no dates on these pages, they're blank notes pages, I had that ability. And then the same can be said for here, like I have half a page per day because I only needed half a page per day, but then I have a page full, like a full page. I don't know. I liked being able to use it however I could. Okay, so this looks like in March I changed my layout from doing like just more journaly things to trying to do a timeline, and then I got sick, so I don't think I used these pages, and I think this might have been the start of my downfall with dailies in the back. Yeah, so I glued these 2 pages together because I didn't have anything on those pages and I didn't want to have blank pages, which I kind of regret now. I may unglue those somehow. Anyways, blank pages are what they are, and again, I'm working on being better about that for myself and getting to see the blank pages as part of my life. Like, there's obviously not going to be something to write down every single day that takes up a whole page, and if there is, then my life is way more interesting than I thought it was. But having big stickers helps for sure. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I did a lost week here where my guess is, yeah, I didn't have time to write, so I just smushed all of the days onto 1 page, which is nice because, again, there's not going to be a week's worth of blank pages. Instead, it's all on 1 page, and I move straight into something else, which looks like I wanted to swatch the washi tapes I got from the washi tape shop, which, actually, yeah, by the time this video goes out, I think they're having a big sale for the summer. So definitely go to their website if you're interested. I think they have like 18% off right now on their summer sale. And then I have a cleaning plan, and then we go back to the header pages of the month. So I think what I liked most about the daily pages is the freedom, but also the fact that I could not have blank pages. Even though in July, my plan / what I've already done is dated the whole month in advance. So I do have 1 page per day. And I don't know if that's going to force me to use 1 page per day, or if that's going to be more of I can accept that I have blank pages or not. We shall see. We definitely shall see. Here's back to that reading spread. And I guess that's another thing. Like, I like that I can have things mixed throughout, and because I have an index in the front of the book, I can just flip through to the page number to find whatever I'm looking for. I will say with the daily pages, I think predating them is something that did work for me in May, because this is definitely when I started predating them, where I would do like a week in advance. I just date out only a week's worth, and then I would smush the weekends on to like 1 page. And I like that I kind of did a different color ink every day too. That's fun to look at for me. But also I think I like looking at these 2 pages next to each other. Like this day I didn't really have a lot to write. So having the blank space around it tells me, okay, maybe I wasn't having a really good mental health day or something, or maybe something was going on that I didn't have time. But this day I had more time to write, which is, I guess, what I'm trying to embrace with blank pages, that I have the ability to see, okay, I didn't have time to write that day, so obviously I was busy or something happened, and I need to like be able to see that looking back versus just skipping over the day entirely, which makes me think that for future planners, I would predate the whole book or buy something that's already dated. I think if I were to do just like journal entries only, like no plans or anything, a blank notebook would work really well for me. But with planning, I think I would prefer to have everything predated. I don't know. Oh, okay. So this was a fun day that, well, not really a fun day. So my zucchini plants that I planted in March or April were doing very well. And then we had a surge of squash bugs that I tried my hardest to fight. I really did. I like soaked their eggs, took the bugs off that I found, like the whole thing, and they just kept coming and kept coming, and the bugs officially won, and I lost my zucchini plants this year, which was really disappointing. But at the same time, it's a lesson for me for next year. So getting to write it down, I can read back this and be like, wow, okay, so this is what happened. I need to be more prepared next year with insecticidal soap and be on the plants really early before they start taking over. And then, okay, yeah, on the next day, we had really terrible fleas, which is something we experience every year. We have a property that's very wooded and heavily like grassy and stuff, so our dogs get fleas very easily, and so we usually have to flea treat the house too, because they just bring everything inside. But it's, I don't know, it's kind of fun to see. Like I did a little blurb on each dog's bath time and like what happened. I don't know, just kind of fun. But yeah, I do like being able to look back at my daily pages, like I was saying, and then having the blank page is something that I think I want to be able to have in the future. So maybe I will go with something more dated. This was another Birmingham Pen Company order. This was the day that I got obsessed with the Please, Please, Please song by Sabrina Carpenter. I think I watched her music video like 10 times or something. I don't know. That song was just like ringing in my head for hours. Yeah. Oh, and this is when I got some new stamps from Jet Pens. I know this is, well, kind of like a side tangent of flipping through, I guess, maybe not, but I got these really cool little stamps from Jet Pens and they have little inks and notebooks. So the stamp is like a little book, a little planner cover, or like a Moterm looking book cover, or Gillio if you will, a nib from a fountain pen, a bottle of ink, a little clip, and then a tape dispenser. And I felt this was really appropriate for how I like to use my nibs and inks and things, and kind of denote, you know, what I was doing with them, I guess. I don't know. I just was really happy with the little stamps. And yeah, that's the end of June, I think, almost. I think towards the end of June, I was having a really hard time. Yeah. I just was not feeling journal pages anymore. And then on the last day of June, I got some really bad news about my grandma, which, I mean, she's a very elderly lady, and she has been declining for a while, but I mean, it's never easy to, you know, say goodbye to a loved one. She hasn't passed yet, but it's close. The way they're talking about it, it's close. Anyways, I ended on page 144 for my half-year point, and the book total has 369. So I think I should be fine to have 1 page per day for the rest of the year, and then still have some pages left over at the end to where I can hopefully transfer in like my trackers from other books. So we shall see. That is kind of my thought process on One Book July with this, because I really want to be able to test myself, challenge myself to have everything in one book, which I know I've talked about in another video, so I'm not going to talk about that again. Last little part of this video though, I want to share the chunk factor. So this book has been holding up very nicely. I had an undated common planner in 2023 for 6 months, and the binding was nowhere near as secure as this one. So I think the newer covers that she has picked, also the I guess, I don't know if it's the same binding or not, but she definitely did something with the newer books that worked very well, where they're still floppy and they still hold really well for binding. I can still flip the book back on itself and it doesn't cause any problems. Like it basically behaves the same as what I loved about a 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗍, being that the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗍 was very flexible and that I could bend it back on itself to write as the book got thicker, because I prefer to have everything in one book, even if that book becomes massive, because having 2 books is just, I don't know. I don't want 2 journal books. I want one. But yeah, I'm really happy with the wear and tear so far on this journal. It has fluffed out absolutely beautifully. And I like the gold edges with fluff. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that, but I do like it. Although I don't really have to have it. I think I would be just fine if the book wasn't gold edged too. So I don't know. It doesn't really change my opinion on the edging. It just looks pretty. I don't think I would have to have it. If the option wasn't there, I would be okay. But I definitely like how chunky it's gotten after 6 months. I don't have another planner to compare this to, but I can compare it to a journal. So this is the 520-page notebook by Sterling Ink, and it is the same size as the book, but I don't sticker this one. It's mainly just writing, and it has that old spine, so you can see how the spine is already curved a heck of a lot more than the newer one. So I like seeing that the newer versions of her books are holding up so well. But the size comparison, I don't know how to describe how chunky the difference is. Like, I don't know if this would be considered like a quarter bigger, a third bigger, because it's not, I don't think it's doubled in size. Like if we were to do spine to spine, right? Like, I don't think it's doubled in size, but it's definitely fluffy and bigger for sure. I don't know. What do you think? Do you guys think it's a quarter bigger, third bigger? I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But the fluff is handling very, very well. Anyways, I'm going to leave the video off here. I do think that I am going to do well with my challenge for using this as a 1 book in July, but I don't know if it's something that I can continue more than 1 month, and I already feel that way, and we're only 1 week in. So we shall see again how this ends up at the end of the year, how big this book gets, all that kind of stuff. I will definitely share an update at the end of the year of how everything goes, whether I, you know, can fit everything into one book or not. We shall see. Anyways, I want to thank you so much for watching, for joining me here today, for hanging out for a little while I talked about my planner that I've been using for 6 months. If you're interested in other planners that I've used for 6 months, like my health planner, or even my garden journal, I will have other separate videos showcasing those, just in case you only wanted to see one planner versus the other. But I definitely think that I've enjoyed having separate videos for each planner to look back on versus putting all of the planners into one video. So yeah, definitely check those out if you're interested. But again, thank you so much for watching, for joining me here today, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day, and yeah.